Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesson Non-Classics. This is episode number 33, 34. Double shot number 32, 28. Yep, we're reviewing Spawn and Savage Dragon. First time in a little while, a Spawn Compendium. Yes. Yep, a Spawn Compendium, which this volume, no one ever expected this one to come out. I heard about this a little while ago. It was announced like maybe a month or two ago that I heard about this. And now here we are, Spawn Compendium, Volume 7, which collects issues 302 to 350 of the series. But I'm skipping over 302 to 337 because I've already discussed the issues already, a series of trade paperbacks. Yep. Excuse me. So, basically, what happens over the course of these issues, per se? Excuse me. Come on. Come on. Oh my god. Thank you. No. Thank you. Yeah, I'm having some minor issues with my my web browser. Okay, so by the way, McFarlane pretty much is the writer of these issues. Mostly put, it is basically a lot of it's built with 350. Of course, there's references here to issues of King Spawn. So we start with the girl who appeared in the previous trade with the whole. And basically, we have this girl with purple hair, who basically is this tree, who actually for a woman thinks she's trespassing, but nope, she just basically it's all mindscape stuff. I think this is the girl Alice Lemons met in the previous trade. Yes, I think it was. And we have Sin here is basically deal with stuff with him. A lot of it is not set in New York City. Spawn is here, but he's not as much. Also, at the end of 338, his power is 1393. Yep. And then we have next issue where he's in the real world, where he's talking to Haunt, a character that Todd created with Robert Kirkman. Yep. Haunt has become a recurring character in Spawn, despite the fact that him having his own solo title. So we continue to write him, and of course you have stuff in the Hellscape stuff, stuff for Crusaders, and by the end of the issue, where you have the new character Cataclysm, Spawn's power is now 1427, and mostly put you just have Spawn deal with these. And a bunch of demons and lots of chatting here too, but not over the top like Bendis does. Yeah, Bendis, if you read a Bendis comic book, some comic books just have a bit too much dialogue. Yes, seriously. So mostly put just have Spawn breaking into a facility to get more guns because, well, he has to use guns, always use power. And you have more people here in this version of Heaven. And then we have at the end of issue 340, his power is now 1596. Oh, the guy's name is Carabox. I think this is the guy who appeared a little. I think it's Spawn man for the first time here. So Spawn has to fight him in this issue. This is issue 441. He has to fight him for the first part of this issue. While Haunt deals with his own thing. You have this guy Kism, this demon. It's like fighting here on the Hellscape, and of course you still have Todd's insistence of these talking heads, which he's had since issue 1, which there's this old man appears in issue 1 of the series, and he's now basically wearing a red, white, and blue outfit. So it's like a medieval era, and by the end of issue 342, Spawn's power is now 1738. Yeah. And we have lots of brawling here. Chasm is killed. Then we have Spawn, Han Krennic, and the looks like some library. And then we have a big battle. It's like lots of fighting here. And then by the end of issue 342, Spawn's power is now 1865. Yep, now we're on the 343, where Spawn is basically finding a bunch of dead bodies, and then with the woman he's been hanging out with. Yeah. And then we see frickin' Clown! Yes, Clown is here. Yep. Old classic Spawn villain Clown. Yep, he's here. And he's here basically dealing with the events of King Spawn. Actually, it's Gunslinger Spawn 33. Next page deals with stuff for 300. Yeah, it's great to see him back in the book. And first, it says first time Spawn's account of issue 300. And where has he been? Clown has been hanging out on King Spawn. That's pretty much where he's been hanging out there, or Gunslinger Spawn. That's basically what he's done since 300. So, more fighting here this battle. Of course, Gizem is now still alive, but more talking. By the end of issue 343, Spawn's power is now 1913. Moving on, 344, where we see Gunslinger Spawn. Yes, Gunslinger Spawn is back in the main title, first time since issue 300. Yeah, he was brought to present day by Spawn because Spawn broke the frickin' timeline. Yep, and they chat for a bit, and of course, like about the character Sin. And we have more Crusade stuff. Haunt does his own thing. And then we see She-Spawn, which is surprising given the fact that Spawn is talking to her. By the way, she's the start of the series Scourge. Because this is the woman who, according to a retcon, this is the woman who murdered Al Simmons. And now they get along no problem, despite the fact that she killed him. Yeah, her real name is Jessica Chapel. You see, and I've mentioned this a few times throughout when I'm reviewing Spawn, Spawn's original killer was Chapel from Youngblood. And then Chapel died, and then because of legal stuff with Rob Liefeld, tied the changes to this woman, Jessica Chapel. And also another reason why, because a version of this character popped up in the Spawn movie released in 1997 that probably Todd had to adapt for the comic book because of a dispute with Rob Liefeld. And plus, Chapel was dead. And here's the thing. Currently, as of right now, Chapel is still dead. The original Chapel. Yeah, he's been dead since the early 90s. And Rob has never brought him back. He debuted in Youngblood #1, and he got killed off in Youngblood #10. Well, he became a demon and died again. So, and then She-Spawn, Haunt, and Spawn do their own thing. More fighting here, and Sid brings his own forces in. Then by the end of issue 344, Spawn's power is 1989. I bring this up because every issue basically does this power thing. Because, of course, there's something big happened with 350. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, the place is called the Seventh Realm. So, Spawn is basically dealing with this big battle with demons. And then we go to the Fourth Realm. Lots of fighting here. It's a big fight. And by the end of issue 345, Spawn's power is now 2113. Yep, and then Spawn has it, and we have Gunslinger Spawn in this issue with a, I think it's Monolith, I think that is, yes, Monolith did with a soldier who was like a World War I version of Spawn with a Hellhead, and they work with him, and of course you have Spawn standing next to the woman who killed him. I think at some point that they buried their hatchet, and they kind of work together, because they probably have to. So, Clown does his own manipulation, because that's Clown. Yeah, aka the Vindicator. And he deals with a dark angel. And then we deal with, like, before the next day of battle. And by the end of the issue, Spawn's power is now 2242. Moving on to 247, where Clown is kind of the Violator. That's his demon form. I believe in the animated series, actually Momonga, that's the demon who Spawn killed back in issue 100, where he became the ruler of Hell briefly. Actually was somebody else took the throne, but Spawn killed him, but someone else took the throne. Probably because Spawn didn't want it. And then we have basically Monolith do his own thing. Monolith is actually a fairly new Spawn who debuted recently in the last few years. Yeah, he's part of like the new lineup, and he got his own miniseries like recently. He's actually the biggest Spawn. Yeah. And then of course then we have the Dark Angel show up and kill some allies of Spawn, while apparently working with the Clown. And more angels chatting, and then Spawn just goes to this forest. Then we have some flashback stuff here with other people. And then the issue ends. This point is King Spawn number 27, which no power thing this one. Nope, 247's first one in a while would have no power. No mention of what his power level is. And then Sin takes on the woman who Spawn knows. I forget her name. So we deal with her a lot of the issue, and Spawn. By the way, yeah, it's definitely Al Simmons because he's black and he's got a goatee. Yeah. So, lots of strategy, lots of chatting here. Then by the end of the issue, Spawn's power is 2399. Moving on to 249, where some fighting, not much, because all big war between heaven and hell. And then basically conflict gets more escalated. Spawn has to step in. And then by the end of the issue, they said long live the king, where his power says 2473. And moving on to the big 350. The big changing point. And Wanda returned, despite the fact that she went to heaven. Yeah, Wanda's here. And of course you have She-Spawn going after Sin. And Clown is doing his own thing. He's wearing a different outfit now. Yeah, he's no longer wearing the outfit he's wearing since his debut. He's now had a red tie. He's basically wearing proper pants now. Probably because different realm. And then he becomes Violator and then fights Sin. And we have Spawn using guns, which of course that's a trademark of Spawn, because every time he uses the chains that he uses, it basically depletes his power every time. So he has to use the guns in order to make sure he doesn't have to deplete his power. Here he's using the chain to try to strangle Sin. And supposedly, like, there's a big explosion happen, and then basically, then we go back to 5 minutes ago, where Spawn is talking to his late wife, and then we have I kind of forget this woman's name because they don't really mention her. Then we have this woman in control of the throne. Then we have this other guy appear here. Then we have her sit on the throne. And I don't think it's She-Spawn, it's somebody else. Then we have the epilogue where Spawn is back in New York and basically says Wanda. How's that for? Lost. And of course, next, yeah, that's a character's universe. Then Spawn tries to use his power, take on these demons, but nothing happens. And he has to use his own wits, and the reason why he can't use his power, because his power, for the first time since issue 50, is now 0001. He is out of power. He's had this full power since issue 250, ever since he was revived, and now he's out of power. For the first time in 300 issues, he's out of power. Yep. So yeah, Spawn has no power now. That's the big revelation with issue 350, is that he has no power. He can't use the chains, but he can still wear the suit, no problem. And he can use guns, but he can't use the chains anymore right now. Interesting set of issues. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. As for whenever Change Trade Back comes out, I have no idea. Excuse me. Next up we have is we have Savage Dragon, The Scourge Strikes. This book collects. It blows my hair on my phone. We have 241 to 246. Written, drawn, inked by Eric Larson. Yep, we start out with, well, Malcolm being punched by one of the robots who look like Maxine. Also, this whole thing with the character Captain Tootsie. A story about him where apparently he was in frozen ice for a long period of time. The only reason why he's here is because Eric Larson bought him at an auction. So yeah, we finally started a dispute between him and the sex bots, who become, for some reason, these women become. One becomes a nanny to Malcolm's kids, and then stuff with Captain Tootsie, and then eventually and then we have Angel playing with Amy. And then apparently, actually it's Lila. So apparently, Maxine tells Angel that Jackson cannot know that Angel's his mom. So, yep. And then of course he's back home. And then of course, basically, then the whole thing with the tape from the previous set of issues that's mentioned here, and yeah, totally left alone over this stupid tape. And then for some weird reason, we have Malcolm fighting Captain Tootsie, which last set pages. And then they with an alien, and, well, then goes home, and Kevin's there. And Frank is there with, well... Yep, and they kind of become friends because basically, well, stuff. Yeah. So then we have the girl, and then we have Ant chasing around Thor. Yeah, this is a subplot. And then Maxine gets sick. So yeah, then of course Lila is introduced to basically Jackson, and then the whole thing revelation, yeah. Then of course Maxine, I think it's then Malcolm basically chooses her out for it. And then we have Ant still chasing after Thor. Well, basically this is Image Comics store, not Marvel Comics store. Yep. Ant gets into a fight, and of course then it's and then for some reason basically where Ant is talking to, well, Savage Dragon. Ant herself will later get her own mini-series not long after this, where it was written and drawn by Eric Larson. Yeah. So Captain fixes the maid's hair. And then for some reason one of Maxine's kids develops electric powers. I think it's the daughter of the girl who was the third girl Malcolm slept with. And then we have this thing show up where apparently kills Kevin. And I love the shot here. Amy Dragon fights alone, where you have Ant climbing on the wall. That's Eric Larson paying tribute to some Spider-Man comics from the 80s. Great on him for doing that. I love the fact he did that. Then we do this warm thing. And Frank went home, and of course, basically, it's yeah, Captain just brings her home. And apparently the sex doll is reprogrammed. Flower pot. We wired her. He fixes broken eye. She's cleaning up the mess in her room. Actually, yeah, the creator's dead, but yeah, then Maxine takes her daughter to daycare, and it's yeah, actually just takes her to a friend's house, and lots of playing here, and then some guy basically tries to rob her friend's, actually tries to hurt her friend, and, well, beats her up, but ends up destroying her house. Yes. Batman mentions his friends Bob and I fight him. You okay? I'm fine. He's sleeping now. My pretty dress got ruined. Amy destroyed Willen's house. And our car, whatever cars. Yep, have you been drinking? Yeah. Should I give me a bath? Cartoons! Maybe we should go to... You should have this in roll? Yep. Yep, and... Well, what does Maxine do? Put Malcolm in for more sex. Because, of course, basically, this is the sex comic. But at least, basically, they're not going overboard like they did before. I'm sure Erik Larsen probably was going overboard. But I'm sure he probably, even though he's the one running this book, I'm sure he's probably told by maybe Eric Stevenson, Hey, Eric, can you tone down the sex stuff in your Savage Dragon comic? Just tone down a little bit, keep it there, but don't go over the top, basically, because I'm going to get complaints from readers about it. So, it's there, but I'm glad they toned it down. Yep. Of course, Maxine is mad at Malcolm for sleeping with her while she was drunk, despite the fact it was actually her idea. Then we have basically the guy stop by, and then we have... So we have the scientist here who is an obvious take on Dr. Savannah. Yes. And you could tell by look at this guy. Wait, I would say the only thing difference is slightly how his ears are designed, but how he's dressed, how his face is. Yeah, it's DC's Dr. Savannah. I would not have been surprised, basically, if somebody at DC Comics caught this and, well, did nothing with it. Yeah, and then we have where Malcolm and the Powerhouse basically just set things down for a little bit, and of course they fight each other, of course. Then we have the Chained Man, which, seeing this, I'm like, wait a minute, this reminds me of a character that popped up in Joshua Williamson's Superman, which, that popped up after this, believe it or not. Yeah, that popped up like about a couple years ago. This was several years ago. And maybe Joshua took inspiration from Erik Larsen, but changed the design. But yeah, the whole change thing, that reminds me of that character. So Malcolm's finding her, and then basically attempts to take a shower, and then Angel tries to do something with him in the shower, and Malcolm's like, no, he doesn't do anything with her unless Maxine gives the okay. And that's that. And then Malcolm is dragged out to have sex with Maxine in the bathroom. And then we have Chain Man fighting stuff here. And then you have a funeral. Malcolm's trying to be polite. And, well, the guy apparently went out to some people, and I'm like, wait. A chained man going out to people he knows. Williamson clearly ripped up the storyline. But I think Larsen probably just didn't care. And then, presumably, based on how Maxie and Malcolm are, afterwards, I am presuming these two probably just had sex, because they're both naked. And then we have a woman firing beams off, and Captain Tootsie basically has to do with her. Maxine does whatever. And then, of course, she gets drunk, so Malcolm proceeds to carry her off so they can have sex again. Yeah, but at least it's behind a door. Yes. And then, of course, Maxine apologizes what she's doing. Frank's like, yeah, it's fine. Yep. And we'll get the guy to go Scourge, and... well... Malcolm proceeds to punch him right through. Kills him. Kyler ran a Starkiller base. Shot first. Yeah, he made a Star Wars joke. It's fine. And then we have these several female demons show up. And that's it. Yep, that's it. Interesting. I got to admit, this was an improvement over the previous issues, because I'm sure Larsen was probably being told, not just by readers, but maybe Eric Stevenson, the publisher, probably was telling him, well, he's asking him, because Dragon is, he's full control of his character. He probably asked, hey, can you tone down the sex stuff, please? That is my estimate what happened here, because if you read the previous set of issues, it is way over the top, but it's much more subtle. Just do more action, less sex stuff. And I'm sure probably not Eric Stevenson was probably asking this, but I'm sure probably also the readers were probably asking, but maybe some distributors too. Who else basically? Maybe his color is probably doing the same thing too. Yep. So yeah, this particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is well. Next up is basically Reborn's Venom Machine. Okay, so